Well, good morning, one and all. We are here. It is Garden America. Better late than never, the old saying goes. And Tiger and myself, we are late. But again, like I said, better late than never. For those on Biz Talk Radio, nothing changes. We're still on time. This is for our friends on Facebook Live. Had a bit of a problem. Technical issues, as we have said so many times before. Not just on this show, but of course with technology, so on and so forth. Things happen. Tiger got us back on. We are ready to go. John is still off for this week. He's in Germany. We are raring to go. Tiger, you spent the last, 20, 25 minutes just trying to get us on, and we had to more or less backdoor our way onto the show.
Yeah, and I'm still just trying to make sure everything's running smoothly. But, whenever there's an update and you don't.
They don't tell you.
And they don't tell you, and you kind of just go with it, and then all of a sudden you start doing your normal procedure in the morning. You're like, oh, wait a minute, now I got to refresh this. Now I got to do this. Now I got to re-log in. And then the problem we were having is remembering our passwords for our logins.
It automatically logs you in after, all these months and years.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that's like trying to ask somebody what their phone number is or what somebody else's phone number is. I don't know. I just asked, Siri to call them.
That's the way it is. I mean, if I needed to call you, no problem. But if somebody was to ask me what is Brian's phone number, I have no clue.
Yeah, we text each other back and forth. But other than that.
Yeah.
So, and we had to use my Facebook page to get us on. We couldn't use yours or Garden America.
I know.
You're going to be working on this,
I'll be working on that when I get home.
Right, absolutely. Well, we made it. Thank you so much, those tuned in. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We are going to give you an entire show, no doubt about that. Those on Biz Talk Radio, we welcome you each and every week. And again, I do want to remind our friends on Biz Talk Radio, you want to watch us live and interact, you can go to our Facebook page, Garden America Radio Show. We kick things off at about 6 minutes after 8. That's a.m., of course, on the West Coast. The Eastern Time Zone, 11:06, and you can take part. You can correspond back and forth, ask your questions, so on and so forth. But again, for those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for your support as well. As I mentioned, John's still in Germany. He's sending us pictures. It's been quite a trip. He's been gone a long time, Tiger.
And he just sent his pictures to his lifelong dream of going to Zengerhausen.
Zengerhausen.
Yeah, the rose breeder rose. I don't know, library, Rose Park in Germany.
It's one of the biggest rose places in the world.
Yeah.
That's how I can simplify that.
He's making his pilgrimage right now.
Right. And this is part of his bucket list.
Yes, exactly. So, we're proud of John, and we're happy he's having a good time posting some beautiful pictures. I'll share some after the show or during the show if I have some time. I'll share some pictures that he sent as well.
Want to thank our sponsors, Fertilome, Mosquito Dunks, and
Root Warrior.
Root Warrior.
Yeah.
I want to get that right because the website's a different name, isn't it?
Root.
Yeah, the website's a little different.
Yeah.
But Root Warrior is the product. We had had our guest on last week talking about it, and a lot of people were very interested. You and I got some sample products that we took home. So, again, thank you to Root Warrior. But, again, I want to get that website of theirs, if we can either post that or tell people that still want to check things out on their website. You looking for it?
Root Plant Warrior.
That's it.
PlantWarrior.com.
Yeah, Root Plant Warrior.
Root Warrior is the product.
Right, on Root Plant. So they have other things on their website.
They have a few other things that are kind of meant for, making sure you can grow your plants successfully.
Right.
Again, bringing oxygen and drainage into your pots or into your plants, even in the ground. That's what I was really amazed by.
I thought it was for pots
ground.
only.
Yeah, but the ground as well.
You dig that little hole, you turn the cone upside down, and right?
Turn the cone right side up. You don't turn the cone upside down, otherwise it'd be a cone. Well, what is the right side of a cone?
Yeah. You want
like if an ice cream cone
right.
would be like a V, but a safety cone would be like a cone.
There are people a lot smarter than we are to figure this out. So that said, whatever's on your mind this morning, Kim says good morning from Tucson, the Backyard Garden Club. Any front yard garden clubs, let us know. We love the Tucson Backyard Garden Club. Thank you, Kim. Carla, good morning. Glad you made it. Guys, have to leave early to pick up, whoops, it just updated. That's Carla.
Okay.
Have to leave early to pick up more trays for my worm bins.
Ooh.
Enjoy the show. Thanks for the newsletter, Tiger. Your second attempt at the newsletter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was fun. I haven't been getting as crazy as John does, but I will say the quote of the week right now.
Yeah, let's do the quote of the week.
The tiny seed knew that in order to grow, it needed to be dropped in dirt, covered in darkness, struggle to reach the light, by Sandra King. And it's funny because, yeah, when you think about it that way,
it's quite a process.
It's like you have to get beat up to grow into something new a little bit right there.
Which is why some seeds don't make it.
Right.
It's kind of like that, you roll the dice.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes into that. Like you said, the struggle, right? The struggle.
They have to struggle. If you were like, oh, if you want to be something wonderful, I'm going to just go drop you in this hole. You're just going to be underground for a couple weeks.
Right.
And it's going to be dark and dirty and wet and muddy.
No sunlight.
But then you would emerge something new.
Makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
You said you've had a pretty busy couple of weeks. You're drained.
I am. We've had a very busy few weeks working. A lot of projects, a lot of landscape projects, a lot of work going on. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
The business, right? I mean,
yeah, just why am I so busy right now? Usually going into summer, things slow down. Is it because
I know why? I think
we've
the rain
had a late, summer.
I would venture to say that all the rain we've had, that we're finally coming out of the wet doldrums.
Yeah,
and maybe people are like, okay, got to get things done now, even though it's mid-June.
Yeah.
We're about, like you said, this would have been happening to you, what, April or May?
Right.
Usually.
And it kind of slowed through that whole time, just steady. And now it released. And it's a beautiful weekend this weekend.
I left work yesterday, came to work, it was cloudy. I know I don't get out much. Spend most of the day here. Looked outside in the afternoon, sunshine. Yeah. It was like a whole new world was opening up. It was like Disney.
It was warm.
Warm. Yeah, it was like 78 degrees here at the station when I left at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, real busy at work right now, which is good, being blessed with that. But just makes for an exhausting couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you got enough manpower to keep everything going?
And that's a little bit of a struggle right now, too. So we are hiring some new people, and they'll be starting in the next few weeks. So I'm excited about that. So I've got a couple more weeks of stress.
Entry level, like just dig a hole. Don't worry about what's going on.
A couple, but then a couple more experience
that know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have to set things up and then leave the site and then trust that they're going to do the job correctly, right?
Exactly. And that is the struggle sometimes, because then I'm running around multiple projects, following up on things, making sure things do get done right, or solving problems that we ran into.
Right, and then you got to go back and make sure things were done accordingly.
Exactly.
And on time, hopefully.
Yeah.
Calls from disgruntled people now and then.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, I remember the first time I remodeled a house from top to bottom.
Oh, wow.
And so they were there for the first 2 weeks, every day on the job. And one day, nobody showed up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Well, we're going to the job we're working on. What? Yeah, we'll be back there in a day or so. In fact, I'm going to send my plumber out there later this afternoon. I'm like, wait a second. So, yeah, they had 2 or 3 things going. Yeah. And the first couple of weeks, they ramped everything up. And then they would come back. And so I get it. It's sort of like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, so we have a crew that comes in and then starts things, does demo, prep work, all of that kind of stuff. And then we have the specialty trades come back in. So irrigation, laying pavers. And we have to schedule those to go in a line, into a sequence. Right. So they don't all get to come in at once.
And maybe some things have to be done first before you bring those people in.
And some things then have to dry or set before we can come back and work. Mm-hmm. So it's a logistics thing.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. But it's good. We're busy. I'm happy.
We've got about a minute until our first break. Let's talk about our guest today, Melissa Canales.
Melissa Canales with Quantum Microgreens. We've talked about microgreens with her before, and I don't want to talk too much about microgreens because I want to make sure to save something for the interview. But they are becoming very, very popular. Microgreens are kind of getting your veggies in an easy way. Imagine not having to grow out a whole head of broccoli or cauliflower or something and just being able to sprinkle it on your salad or your sandwich or other food that you're eating. So,
really?
Yeah.
You've teased me. See how this is all going to work out.
You can grow microgreens, Brian.
How's the veggie pod doing?
It's in a reset period. I'm building an ADU in the backyard,
Okay.
so I got a lot going on, and so I haven't focused on the veggie pod.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I just know how much fun it was when I had it as far as
yeah,
what we're able to grow and how good a product that is.
yeah. The veggie pod is fun, but I do have a lot of tomatoes that are growing and setting fruit right now. So you'll be seeing some pictures of those starting soon when the fruit starts turning red in colors.
Okay, we're going to take a break for our good friends on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you to Stephanie, the gang at Biz Talk Radio. Great supporters of the show, but more importantly, they make sure that we get on every single week here. We are 1 week behind, so thank you for that. Those on Facebook Live, get your questions, your comments ready as we take a break and come back and bring on Melissa Canales here on Garden America. John is off again. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we are back from that break. A bit longer on Biz Talk Radio. Not quite as long here on Facebook Live, but plenty of time for us to get a hold of our guest. As I'm going to toss to Tiger, we're going to bring on Melissa. And from there, again, those on Facebook Live, any questions or comments, just let us know. Tiger?
Yeah, Melissa, thank you for joining us. Sorry we're running a little bit late this morning. Again, Melissa Canales with Quantum Microgreens is joining us this morning, and to talk about all things microgreens from the growing to the eating. Melissa, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
Good. Hey, can you give us a brief description of what a microgreen is? I think people out there listening might be thinking like, oh, just a little small little plant.
Right, and then be thinking correctly. It is a small little plant, except it is a small little immature plant. I would say that. It is a vegetable or an herb that is barely alive. It's been alive for about 7 to 10 to maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and that is the stage of growth that you'd eat this plant at. So microgreens are edible plants, similar to what you might think of as salad greens, but at a stage that's so young that you might consider it still too young to eat. But that too young plant is a microgreen.
So basically we're talking a broccoli that you start from seed, and rather than letting it go to maturity, you're talking any kind of broccoli. This isn't a specific broccoli, but you're just going to harvest it after about 7 days to 2 weeks kind of a thing?
Exactly. You can think of the microgreen as a stage of growth. So people are used to going to the grocery store and getting baby greens, like a baby lettuce that's, a couple inches long.
Okay.
Well, the microgreens are actually younger than the baby greens, but they're older than sprouts.
Oh.
So it's that stage right in between.
Oh, okay. So sprouts are the youngest, and then you go microgreen, and then you go baby greens, and now you go full-grown adults.
Exactly. So if you're looking at this sort of lifetime of how we eat plants, it is older than sprouts, younger than baby.
Hey, and I don't want to digress, but like, is the way that you grow these things? Could you almost have a sequence of things? Like, could you be like, oh, I'm going to grow some sprouts, and you start off some plants, and then maybe you don't eat them all, and so then they kind of turn into microgreens, and then maybe you don't eat them all, and then they turn into baby greens, and then you don't eat them all, and then you plant them, and now you're going to grow out the full plant, or because you grow all of these things differently, that wouldn't work?
I would say it's a bit of a spectrum. It wouldn't necessarily work, but I know that there are people out there that would make it work if they really wanted to. But the way you grow sprouts is generally just in water, on your countertop.
Got it.
With microgreens, you do grow them more. You grow them in a growing medium most of the time. Some people can get away with hacks. I'd say there are people that say they can grow microgreens on paper towels. But what you're doing is you're not eating the root, whereas in sprouts you're eating the root and the plant that's just starting to come up as well. Whereas microgreens, you're leaving the root in the ground or in the soil, and you're just eating the stem and the leaves.
Okay.
So you can start with sprouts and start sprouting them on your counter, and I'm sure you could eat them then. But what you really want to do is not necessarily sprout your microgreens. You would like to put them directly into your soil or your growing medium. Of course, there are exceptions, but for most of them, you're not going to sprout them on your countertop. But as to your other question about whether you can just leave microgreens growing and eat them at the baby stage, probably not.
Okay.
And that's because you're putting microgreens so close together that they really don't have enough oomph, or they're too stressed out to really make it past that microgreen stage unless you try to break them each apart and replant them to get to maybe full grown.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. Might be very difficult and probably damage some things along the way. But
Exactly.
Hey, how did you get your interest in these? As a kid, did you just be like, I want to grow microgreens, and ever since then? Or what piqued your interest in microgreens?
Oh, no. I didn't know what a microgreen was. I didn't know what a microgreen was when I was a kid. I was actually kind of a brown thumb, really. I grew up on the beach, and there's not that much room to grow things when you're in the beach. It's so urban, at least in San Diego, where I grew up. Really, I started out, I was a lawyer, and I was getting very stressed out in my job, and my husband said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I love plants, and I just want to grow things. But we lived in a very urban neighborhood and didn't have access to, any other type of farming, really. And I was a vegetarian. I was eating a lot of salad and plants and loved greens and plants. And when I first learned about microgreens, which really was on the internet several years ago, and I started growing them for myself, that's when I said, oh, this is it. Oh. This is what I can do as an urbanite without access to all of this land to grow. I can actually still grow my own food and feel that fulfillment with it. So that's really how it started. It was just a joy.
Melissa, this is Brian. What beach are we talking about here? Because I'm a native San Diegan.
Mission Beach.
Oh, boy. I grew up in Pacific Beach.
Oh, neighbors.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I went to Mission Bay High School. And so when you talk about not having any space, that is so true. I mean, everybody is so cramped in with one another down there at the beach. I mean, good for you for at least figuring out a way to get this done and get it started.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The beach is lovely in so many ways, and there's so much access, but everybody, no matter where you are, you can be in the inner city, you can be living in a skyrise. You might even be able to live in your car and still be able to grow your own food with microgreens because of how easy they are to grow without access to land. It's incredible, actually.
Hey, Dana's got a question, Tiger.
Okay.
Can microgreens be dehydrated for use? Can you buy them dehydrated?
They can. I've done it. You can absolutely grow microgreens and dehydrate them. The problem is with this is that you are going to grow a lot of microgreens, dehydrate them, and you'll get about a teaspoon or maybe a tablespoon.
Yeah.
Unless you're growing some that are very voluminous. We consider like pea shoots. We consider those microgreens, even though, like, if you go to a farmer's market and buy microgreens, you'll often see pea shoots there as well, and those are they can be bigger. And so I've dehydrated those, and you can get quite a bit of powder from it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about broccoli, which is really, one of the, we'll call that the kings and queens of microgreens is broccoli, just for its nutritional content. And if you're growing that to powder it and put it in smoothies, you're going to be growing a lot to get a very little amount of powder.
So it's shrinkage, basically, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they're very small. They're micro. So when you then dehydrate them, it's not very much.
Hey, so while you mentioned some of the things, can you or we're going to have to take a break, Brian?
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds.
Okay, we're going to take a break, Melissa. When you get back, can you give us a little list of plants that would be what you would want to grow as microgreens? So again, we're talking with Melissa with Quantum Microgreens. When we get back from break, she'll be giving us a little bit of a list of plants that people can consider growing as microgreens.
Right, and those on Facebook Live, any questions or comments for Melissa, do post them right there in the comments section on our Facebook page. We are going to take a break. Thank you to Biz Talk Radio. These upcoming messages are for you. And again, thanking our sponsors, Fertilome, Root Warrior, and of course, Mosquito Dunks here on Garden America. And just like that, we are back as we continue on your weekend, or maybe you're listening to us outside of our normal show on the weekend, which is fine. We'll talk more about how you can listen to Garden America and many, many platforms that we're on. Right now, though, microgreens, we're talking to Melissa Canales, Tiger, and we are back from the break. Let's keep on rolling.
Yeah, and Melissa helped start a company called Quantum Microgreens, where you can go online and find kits for setting up your own microgreens. Great resource for tips and tricks on how to grow microgreens. But before the break, Melissa, I had mentioned that if you can give us a list of plants that people use as a common microgreen, or maybe uncommon as well.
Sure. Well, broccoli, first of all, is one of the most common microgreens. But you're looking for anything, salad greens, arugula, mustard. You can even grow cantaloupe as a microgreen, which is quite delicious. So if you're thinking about veggies that you eat, many of the leafy ones are natural fits for microgreens. Now, not everything. You can't have a tomato microgreen. That doesn't quite work out. But if you're just beginning to get microgreens, I'd take something that you like a broccoli, a mustard, a basil, a cilantro, some of these herbs or salad greens, and you can grow those as microgreens.
Yeah, be careful. Like you say, you can't just start anything out as a microgreen because what is it? Tomatoes and I think peppers are in the solanum family, and those can actually be kind of a little bit toxic, and you might get a tummy ache if you eat the plant. But they make good fruit and vegetables, but just not the plant themselves.
Exactly.
Is there?
You can eat the leaf of a plant. You can generally eat the microgreen. It doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Good. Yeah, and I was going to ask you that next. Like you mentioned cantaloupe. I'm envisioning, a broccoli is going to give you this kind of very green veggie lettuce healthy taste, let's say. And when you say a cantaloupe, does it give it a little bit of a sweeter flavor from the leaf, or is the leaf flavor completely different than the actual melon itself?
Ooh, that's a great question. Generally, across the board, when we're talking about microgreens, if I'm saying a broccoli microgreen or a mustard microgreen or an arugula microgreen, they're going to taste exactly like what you expect it to taste like. The broccoli will taste like broccoli. The arugula will taste like arugula. What you're going to get is a stronger flavor. So microgreens tend to be much stronger flavored, though they're very small. So a little bit will give you that flavor punch, which is quite unique. As for the cantaloupe, it does taste like cantaloupe.
Really?
It's it's not as sweet, obviously, but you do get that beautiful cantaloupe flavor. But speaking of cantaloupe, microgreens it's still a newer. It's becoming a newer, more popular thing. I had very, very passionate people who loved the cantaloupe microgreens because they did taste so sweet. Put them in a salad. But I experimented with different varieties of cantaloupe, and some varieties of seeds tasted horrible. So that was a real surprise. When that's usually not the case with microgreens. That was my experience with cantaloupe. Is that although many times you can grow any kind of broccoli seed and get a delicious broccoli microgreen, there are some outliers such as cantaloupe, where you do want to be a bit careful about the variety and actually do a little research before you buy, 2 pounds of a random cantaloupe seed to start.
Exactly. Yeah.
Growing.
Wow, that seems like a lot of seeds. So now will you walk us through the process of a, microgreen, what you're going to do to grow it out? Because, you just mentioned 2 pounds of seed. Do you really need a lot of seed to do microgreens?
You need more than you're going to get in your typical seed packet.
Got it.
Right. So with a seed packet, with a microgreen tray, if you're doing a small tray, and I tended to sell in 8-ounce deli trays. So if you're heading to the deli and you're going to get some pasta salad and you're getting the smallest little round container they have, it's about 4 inches diameter, that is a typical size I'd sell at the farmer's market. So for that size tray of microgreens, you'd put about a half a cup of your seed starting medium. That's a good place to start.
Okay. And you want to do seed starting, not like a potting soil or something?
Right, not a potting soil.
Okay. Seed
My
starting
favorite is a coconut coir, if anybody has access to that. But any sort of seed starting mix, that's also a good alternative to use. And then you'd use about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of seed.
Okay. And just sprinkle that on the top there?
Yeah, just sprinkle it all on the top. You want almost a blanket of seeds. So the seeds not quite touching each other, but very close to one another.
Okay. And then do you cover it at all with any more core or seed starting mix, or you just sprinkle it on the top?
No. Pretty much never.
Okay.
So you leave them open, and then the next, what you're going to do next is, I'd call it the water dance. So you're going to gently mist those seeds with water until they germinate and they start, the root starts pushing down into that soil. And at that point, that's when you'll start watering. I'd call it pouring and not misting, because the roots really need to get that water. And if people keep misting on top, often you're missing the top of the plants as they're growing and neglecting the roots, which need the water. So here's your steps. You've got your tray to put it in. You don't do these in the ground. You've got your soil medium. You want about a ½ inch to an inch of soil or seed starting mix. And then you'll put your seeds gently on top in a nice blanket of seeds, and then you'll mist them until they start to grow. And then you'll just water them like you'd water a typical houseplant. You want it moist, not soggy, until the microgreens are about an inch to 2 inches, and then you're ready to eat them.
And during that growing phase, I mean, I've seen them in these little deli trays like you mentioned. Do you put a lid on it at all, or just keep them fully open? Do you place them in a windowsill with lots of light? Do you kind of keep them dark?
Yes. So many questions. Yes, of course.
Yes, all of it.
It's a lot of experiment. And there's a lot of information on YouTube. You can actually, see me on Instagram doing videos about growing them as well. Many of them you want to cover them in a sense by just putting, a piece of cardboard on the top. It can even touch the seeds directly. It doesn't matter. What you're doing with that cover is you're really keeping a more humid environment for the seeds to start to germinate, so they don't dry out right away. Because you can imagine that if you're just missing the top of seeds, they could dry out pretty quickly. So a cover that does allow some airflow is a great way to keep that humidity. There are some varieties that like it dark, so it does it will shade out the seeds. So like a piece of cardboard on top of your microgreens is a really good option. And then once they start to grow up and you start to see the leaves coming out, that's when you'd go put them in a windowsill, or even just under your, kitchen cabinet lights would be sufficient.
Okay, yeah. And as you mentioned, you post a lot of really good YouTube videos on how-to, on do you use a grow light? How should you keep them? How to do this process? So, again, Quantum Microgreens is where you can find out more information about how to, and follow Melissa on all those social media platforms, be able to reach out to her. Brian, we got to take a break in about a minute and a half.
We got, let's call it about 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes?
Right.
Because, Melissa, I want to, you just walked us through the process, but you have kits. What is included in this kit that you sell that make it easier for people?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I sell a kit, and I try to take all the guesswork out because there's several skills in learning to grow microgreens. And it's knowing when to water. You're getting to know your plants. And what I do in the kit is I give you a tray, and I give you the right amount of seeds because there's a lot of question in how much seeds to put in. So if you're taking out the guesswork with the amount of soil, the amount of seeds, the cover, and the tray, you get to really hone in on the technique of growing microgreens. So the kit I sell is teaching the technique. And my hope is after you grow the kit, and it gives you two options to two different crops to grow. So you can start with one, learn, and do another one, and really hammer down on that process and technique. And hopefully you can take what you've learned and scale up from there and say, I loved growing that broccoli. I think I get it. I'm ready to go to a seed store and buy 2 pounds of seeds and get going. So, yeah, so I'm really teaching people the technique with the kit that I sell. And I start with the easy varieties of seeds and take out the guesswork.
That sounds like great. So again, Quantum Microgreens is where quantummicrogreens.com is where you can find those kits. Hey, we are going to take a break here, Melissa. But when we get back, I want to kind of, now we've grown the plants, let's figure out how to use them. Let's talk about some meal options or how to incorporate them into meals, because you had mentioned they can almost go in any meal and add a lot of either flavor or nutrients value as well. So we're going to take a break.
Yep.
And when we get back, we'll continue chatting with Melissa with Quantum Microgreens.
So do stay with us, obviously, those on Biz Talk Radio, those on Facebook Live with your questions or comments. As Tiger said, back after these. When I say these, we're talking about messages on Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. We have returned from the break. It is the other side, as we so often say. And again, those on Biz Talk Radio, this is the final segment of hour number 1. News coming up, top of the hour. We come back at 6 minutes after. We hope your market does carry both hours here on Garden America. We continue our conversation with Melissa Canales, Tiger, and going from one step to the next step.
Yeah, so Melissa's joining us from quantummicrogreens.com. And before the break, she had told us on how to grow them, on what to grow. But now we're going to chat a little bit about what to do with those microgreens that you've grown. Melissa, I think most people, when they hear microgreens, sprouts, baby greens, they're thinking lettuces, they're thinking putting it on top of a sandwich. And that's kind of a standard of practice. I think mostly they kind of get that green food, intake to get that little bit of better nutrients or minerals as well. But there's a lot of other options that people can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two reasons, let me back up a second, the two reasons people want to eat microgreens in the first place is, first, they taste amazing. They, like I mentioned a little bit earlier and touched on, is that the flavor of microgreens is very pronounced. It is strong. If we're talking about a mustard microgreen, that is going to taste like a deli mustard, like the sauce you put on your sandwich. So there can be some very strong wasabi-flavored mustard. So a lot of people are eating microgreens because they just taste amazing, and they add that element and that je ne sais quoi to the food they're eating. And you can just put those microgreens. You don't have to have a recipe. You don't have to use a salad. If you're having, a bowl of rice and beans, you can take a bunch of microgreens that you like the flavor of and put that on top for that crunchy flavor, that fresh flavor, that green flavor of the microgreens. And the second reason people are eating microgreens is because they are just nutritional powerhouses. The studies out there are showing just how concentrated they are with, antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. Like, for example, you'll often hear that there's 4 to 40 times more nutritional value at the microgreen stage than the mature plant stage.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
yeah.
when you're talking, if you're having a salad and you are putting broccoli in it or some of these other things that you might be growing from a microgreen, by incorporating these microgreens into that salad, you're actually getting way more nutrient value than if you were to put those florets of the broccoli itself. But almost you don't even notice that you're eating it.
Exactly. Yeah, and to go with your broccoli example, if you want to get broccoli for breakfast, you can easily put that on your avocado toast or your bagel with cream cheese in places that you normally wouldn't put broccoli flora.
No, I would never do that.
Yeah, exactly. But you can easily get, that great broccoli, I hate to say great broccoli flavor, and somebody might be rolling their eyes at me, but it really is delicious when you're, pairing it with, that bagel with everything topping and, cream cheese or avocado, and then you get that sort of crunch from the broccoli. And, I have to say, when you start your day with broccoli for breakfast, you are winning the nutritional game.
Yeah,
and it's very easy.
Yeah, and it sounds very easy. I mean, like you say, I would never think to take a broccoli floret and put it onto my cream cheese bagel. But when you say, put a little bit of, broccoli sprouts or, mustard sprouts on my cream cheese bagel, yeah, that sounds good to me. I would do that. And especially if I just had them sitting in my kitchen windowsill staring at me, and all I had to do was snip off a little bit and then throw it right on, right? Because that's kind of what you do. You kind of keep them right where you're going to use them. Yeah,
exactly. And if you grow them yourself and have them on your counter, it is so easy to, we call it snip and sprinkle. Mm-hmm. You can also, you might be able to buy them at a grocery store. I've seen them at Trader Joe's, and they're already cut and in the fridge. The lifespan of those already cut microgreens is pretty short. You have to eat them within a few days because they're just so delicate. Whereas if you grow them yourself and have them on your countertop, you've got a week and a half to get through that plant because it is still alive until the moment you cut it and put it on your food.
Yeah. Are there any other kind of maybe what people would consider odd meals that you incorporate microgreens that people don't think about?
Smoothies, absolutely. You can throw them in smoothies. Sushi is a great place when you're getting your mustard. Your strong microgreens can really complement things like sushi or rice dishes. The cantaloupe microgreens in particular, I know a lot of people would mix them with yogurt or put them in fruit salads. They have a great complement for there. Salsas. You can put microgreens in any kind of salsas or sauces.
Melissa, question from one of our viewers. What about for pets? Sprinkling on their pet food, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So I had an old dog that I made all of her old food until she finally passed. But she ate a lot of broccoli microgreens, and, I can't believe she lived as long as she did. And we absolutely. But you have to be careful to make sure it is something. If you would give your pet the full-grown plant, like if you would give your pet broccoli, you can give them broccoli microgreens, and it is easier. And for the folks for the discussion we had earlier about dehydrating them, that's a great option to dehydrate them and sprinkle them in your pet's food if your pet doesn't necessarily want to eat a green plant.
Right. Yeah. No, and I'm sure some pets will love it and some pets will eat it, but if you can mix it in there, that's going to be good for them for sure. Hey, Melissa,
and picky eaters of, kids, older folks that maybe don't do well digesting, not necessarily older folks, excuse me, older folks out there.
Anybody out there.
Has problems digesting, lettuce or any sort of fresh greens like that. I sold to a lot of people that couldn't really digest a salad, but the microgreens are so delicate and tender that those were very well tolerated.
Didn't even think about that.
So
Hey, we're going to have to take another break. Melissa, when we get back, we'll finish chatting with Melissa from Quantum Microgreens and let you know on how to get a hold of her.
Yeah, those on Facebook Live, if you do have a question unrelated to our topic, be sure to repost that after the interview, and we'll try to touch upon it just as quickly as we can. So thank you. We're going to take a short break here on Facebook Live, a bit longer on Biz Talk Radio. You've got news coming up, top of the hour. We come back in about 6 minutes after. Do stay with us as we continue our microgreens conversation this morning with Melissa Canales here on Garden America. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. Again, news coming up, Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live coming right back. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Garden America. If you're just joining us, of course, welcome to those that are coming to us after the fact. after the first hour here on Biz Talk Radio. Anytime you want to chime in, chime out, check in, check out, that's fine with us. We're talking about microgreens this morning. If you've been with us, and those, again, just joining us with Melissa Canales here, Tiger, as we continue and slowly wrap things up.
We're not like a hotel. We don't have a checkout time or check-in time. You can check in or check out whatever time you want. You can even check in and out throughout the day, right?
Just joining the show and leaving the show, coming back, and so many ways to hear Garden America as well, Tiger.
Yeah, so we're chatting with Melissa from Quantum Microgreens, and I just want to give that website, quantummicrogreens.com, a great place to be able to go and find information about microgreens, also be able to find a do-it-yourself kit to be able to make sure you are successful in growing microgreens. And then that's a great resource to follow Melissa in all of the YouTube videos, blog posts, how-tos, tips and tricks and recipes for microgreens.
We got a couple of questions related to that.
Okay.
Kevin wants to know where he can get some of her kits.
Okay. So quantummicrogreens.com, right, Melissa?
That's it. Yep. Just go to my website.
And then another question, are there cookbooks for microgreens?
What do you think, Melissa? Are there any cookbooks off the top of your head that you would recommend? Do you offer any cookbooks?
I don't have any cookbooks. I've seen recipes mixed in with some other microgreen books. The beauty about microgreens is that you don't need a recipe. You just need whatever you love and you already cook, and just add the microgreens on top.
Okay.
So the microgreen, you don't need to have anything special or go buy any special ingredients. If you are having pasta, you just, right before you're going to eat, you take your microgreens, you snip them, you throw them on top, and boom, you're eating them.
Yeah.
There's no real need to change your habits or the way you eat to incorporate them in. You're just elevating the meals.
It almost just seems also, if you think about like whatever vegetable you would incorporate onto your meal in general, like, you mentioned cilantro. If you're putting cilantro onto your taco, if you're putting cilantro onto your fish or whatever it is, you can have the cilantro microgreen and use it the same way. And so whether it's an herb or a vegetable or a radish, it's almost you're using it the same as if you had the whole vegetable, right, Melissa?
Exactly. And can I put a plug in for those cilantro microgreens?
Yes.
They are my favorite. I mean, they are epic. They're so strong. And you think, oh, how could it be that strong? Much stronger than the full-grown cilantro.
Uh-huh.
And second, though, you can't buy that in the store. I mean, you can buy microgreens of cilantro in some stores, but cilantro is unique. When you cut it, the flavor starts to degrade really quickly.
Oh.
So if you're buying it already cut at the store and you're tasting it from there, you're not getting that full, slamming flavor of cilantro microgreens. You really want to grow it yourself and cut it and eat it within, an hour or so.
Okay.
To get that magnificent flavor.
Yeah. Good tip. Good tip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, Melissa, thank you very much for joining us and taking some time out of your morning to share your love and passion for microgreens. I know you are kind of making some changes right now, so we hope all the success for you. And we love that you're just kind of continuing your journey and this, interest in plants and gardening and having fun with it. So thank you for taking the time this morning, and I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, you take care.
Thank you very much. And again, that piqued a lot of interest of those on Facebook Live, a different way that maybe most people haven't even thought of.
Well, I think most people, we're a gardening show, so we always talk about planting something from seed to harvest, to fruition. They don't think about cutting that span short and then finishing it early, but then using it the same way. I mean, here in Southern California, we have a big problem with growing broccoli. It gets too hot. It goes to flower too soon. It's what we call bolts. And same thing with cilantro.
Are we not the right zone?
Yeah, we don't stay cool long enough. It gets too warm.
Yeah, okay.
It's very hard to grow things that need that cool, long period growth. Well, if you're growing a microgreen, you're only taking 7 days to 14 days to grow and harvest it. You don't need to grow it all the way out.
those
You can
extensive
still
weather
use it.
conditions.
Yeah, you can still use it. You can grow it inside. You can grow it on your back porch. I mean, it's a great way to incorporate vegetables into your daily life, but not have to grow a full vegetable garden.
It's a good way to sneak it into people's food too.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of sprinkle it in there.
Well, she
And then-
mentioned the smoothie too. I mean,
Yeah,
you would never know.
Right.
You would
And
never
as far as feeding it to pets, as she mentioned, anything they would normally eat that's safe for them, same thing applies to the microgreens.
Yeah.
Same
exactly.
thing.
Good little tips. Good tips. For
Outstanding. Yeah. So again, want to thank Melissa Canales for that fun topic, microgreens. And again, very, very simple. Somebody said you just get a pair of scissors and snip them, and that's all you have to do. And for the most part, that's correct.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be kind of funny to go to a restaurant, and you know how they have like a salt and pepper shaker on the table?
Microgreen shaker.
If they had a little dish with microgreens and some scissors next to it.
Yeah, right.
And, because she said some of those mustards, some of these things could be spicy, meaning like they could add some, a little different flavor to your meal. And some people might want more of it. Some people might want less. So imagine using it like a pepper shaker.
Okay, let's go back to a question I believe unrelated to the topic. Carol wants to know, how do I get lime deposits from my pots, plastic or terracotta?
Okay. So she has that white kind of either lime or calcium buildup
I
on
think
the
so.
outside of
Right.
the pots. A lot of times that's also comes from salt.
Right. Right. Salt buildup, obviously.
Yeah. So, she's saying lime. If Southern California, a lot of times that's actual salt built up on the outside of the pot. So how does she get rid of it?
I think that's the question.
Yeah. Because, you can just brush off the pots and,
How do I get it? How do I get lime deposits from my pots, plastic or terracotta?
Okay.
Terracotta.
So number one is not using chemical fertilizers because there's a lot of buildup of different minerals and salts and things in there. And then number two is the water you're using to water it with. If you can,
true.
capture some rainwater and then over some time flush those pots with rainwater and not city tap water, because a lot of the city tap waters have a lot of chemicals and salts in them as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised plants even do as well as they do when we use the hose to water them.
Yeah, exactly. And then, John and Bob's Soil Optimizer, Natural Guard Humate, those are good products to incorporate even in pots. We talk a lot about using them in the ground.
Natural Guard, that's Fertilome.
Yeah, that's Fertilome. And they have a Humate product which helps just amend the soil, and that works even in pots. So you might not think about it, but it does work well in pots as well.
I hope that answers your question. Okay, so again on Facebook Live, questions, comments, keep them coming. It's Tiger and Brian today. John is off still in Germany having a great time. Any chance we can post some of his pictures, Tiger? Or where do we stand on that?
I'm going to do that as we're talking.
As we're talking.
I am going to post some onto Facebook.
And he is in, whereabouts in Germany did you say he was?
Well, he's at, I don't know where Zengerhausen is. I don't know. I'll have to look up where that is to know where he is as well.
So John has sent us some pictures. He's having a great time. Tiger's going to post some of those on our Facebook page right now as we speak. And again, those on Facebook Live, whatever's coming to your mind this morning in terms of anything happening in your garden, horticulture, landscaping, whatever, got a situation, a problem, let us know. We'll take this show in any direction you want to go. And again, just post it right there on our Facebook page in the comments section. Tiger and I will do our best to answer your question.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do this all while we're talking right now.
And I'm trying to fill time.
And I'm looking at these pictures, and it looks like John is having such a good time.
He's like a kid at a carnival, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He really is.
He's 10 years old at his first carnival, and
it's
he can't
funny,
believe
though, because
it.
he just takes pictures of plants and roses. He doesn't take pictures of himself.
No, nobody. Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I'm sure his answer would be, well, why bother? It's about the plants, not me.
True. That is true. And there's probably so many neat stories about the plants that he's sharing.
Right,
but it just looks like a rose.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a background on it and a good reason why he's sending those pictures.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a nice weekend.
Yeah, we got to get out and do something. We spent so much time indoors because of the weather. Now, do you think we've seen the last of the cold weather, the rain? I think that maybe this is the real beginning of summer, maybe, Tiger, right?
I think so. I really do think that this is the beginning of summer. I think from here on out, I mean, we're still going to suffer. I mean,
Yeah.
some of that June gloom, that kind of stuff, but
still.
nothing like what we've been having. I think it'll be one of those things that marine layer in the morning, sunny in the afternoon, warmer temperatures.
We're going to take a break, and again, to piggyback on what you just said, Tiger, 4th of July weekend, couple of weeks away already. Going to take a break. Again, we are Garden America, obviously. John is in Germany. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages, and thank you to all of you. Thanks to all of you on Biz Talk Radio for supporting our show. Back after these messages. All righty, we are back after that break on Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live. And again, as I mentioned, going into the break, I want to thank all of those listeners on Biz Talk Radio for supporting our show. I want to thank the entire Biz Talk Radio network for putting us on your platform here, Garden America. So many ways to watch our show, so many ways to listen to our show. This show will be uploaded early this afternoon, I should say, on our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. We're also on Spotify, the iHeartRadio network platform. You can catch us on Google. You can catch us on Alexa. So again, many, many ways to watch and listen to Garden America. Anytime, day or night, 24/7, it doesn't matter, Tiger.
So Sangerhausen is pretty much smack dab in the middle of Germany. It really is. You got Hamburg way to the north. You got Berlin to the northeast, and then you got Munich to the south. And
it's right in the middle,
it's right in the middle. Yeah, it's the center. Yeah. So, I mean, John's over there living his life because he's surrounded by roses.
Now, we talked about possibly taking another Garden America trip.
Yeah.
And Kevin is talking about what we mentioned last week. I think he's interested. He's asking, is your trip tour to Japan being planned?
Yeah, so we're working on trying to figure out where we're going to go.
Yeah, where we're going to go.
Maybe Japan would be a cool
I think
place
that
to
would,
go.
that
Should we
Let's look into that.
Okay.
I know you spent some time this week with
Yeah.
Colette Travel talking about Italy, Switzerland, and various places. Japan seems to have piqued a lot of people's interest. Maybe not the first country you think of
No.
when it comes to gardening, but obviously it is a great place.
Oh, they know how to garden there for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, when you think about gardening, there's a lot of influence from Japan that
Japanese gardens,
that
right?
we don't even know. I mean, that's the common. Oh, you see a Japanese garden at a botanical garden or something like that, but they've perfected so many other things when it comes to gardening, growing vegetables, growing fruit. That would be a really neat trip because we could see some places and see some growers also that do really neat things with different plants.
In different ways.
Yes.
They do things. Dana's mentioning Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think green, you think Ireland, right?
I was gonna say, that'd be more for a grass trip.
A grass trip, right?
Just seeing lots of green everywhere.
So again, you know what? That's a good point that Kevin makes. He's talking about Japan. Anybody listening or watching us, throw your hat into the ring. Where would you like to go with your friends on Garden America? And again, we've got about a year or so to plan this. So let's find out what you think.
Yeah, and then that's the thing too is we got to think about it. Where in late July would be fun to go to?
Weather-wise and
exactly
everything that corresponds around that area.
Yeah. So will that be a season for whatever region we're going to?
Right. I think. Kim's got a question. Do you have the questions?
I don't have the questions up. Can you read it?
My cannas are going crazy right now in Tucson.
Oh yeah.
Has anyone grown cannas from seeds? How many seeds do you need to plant in the hole? They are rather large seeds.
Cannas are just such an easy tuber plant that I'm sure people grow them from seeds, but at the same time, I mean, it's one of those things that they usually just divide and then grow them from tuber. I can't imagine you would need a lot of seeds in the hole if you were going to try to grow them from seeds.
She says she has rather large seeds as well.
Yeah. So, no, I don't have too much experience. Horn Cannas is a company we've had on the program a while back, though. So HORN Cannas. And I know that, as a canna producer, they reproduce via tuber as well. So they don't do them from seed that I know of. But, yes, still they can come from seed.
And what's that website?
Horn Canales is the company. I don't know the
Okay.
website. It's probably just horncana.com or something.
You can look that up.
Yeah.
Perhaps there'll be some answers on that website as well.
Canada should be taking off right now for most people because they love this warm weather. We had lots of rain everywhere. I've been taking some meetings in different people's landscapes, and I've been seeing a lot of cannas.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is popular now? What do people want to grow in their backyard? If I was starting off and you and I were having a consultation,
Mm-hmm.
this is me now.
Yeah.
I'd say I want a lot of color.
Okay.
I want color in and amongst everything. Obviously, and I would say that maybe color would be like equivalent to B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got my main plants I want to grow, and in and around that I want a lot of color.
Yeah, and see what I would do as a landscape professional is if you told me that, I would agree that we can help you do that. But the problem is also people don't always understand the level of care that growing flowers will take, colorful flowers,
Mm-hmm.
and how they're more short-lived than most.
Weren't they seasonal?
Yeah, they're usually very seasonal.
Right.
So what I would do is then not just have you have flowers, but I would also start introducing plants with foliage color, crotons, brania,
Right.
canna, things that are going to give you color in the landscape. Like you said, you have your B-roll and then you have your main plants.
Right.
But people don't realize you can get a lot of color in a landscape. There's a cordyline, a grassy plant called electric pink. It is fluorescent pink, strappy foliage.
Go out at nighttime, you can see it.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of ways to get color in the landscape without having it be the flower, because the flowers come and go. Like you say, they're seasonal. Sometimes they're hard to maintain, but the plants that just have that foliage color, very easy.
You mentioned something right off the bat when I asked the question. You said, well, they take a lot of care.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that the people that you come across planting landscape for them, a lot of people I would imagine just want to be set up and have the garden and the area take care of itself.
Exactly.
And some people, no, I'm okay. I want to get out there every day. I want to maintain it. But I would imagine you have more people that just want it set up and then watch what happens, right?
Yep.
Than those that want to actually take part and do serious gardening.
Yeah, exactly. Or people don't realize, I'll say, hey, okay, we can do this for you. Do you have 2 to 3 days a week to work out here? Do you have 2 or 3 hours a week to work out here in this landscape to make it look good, to keep it well kept, growing well? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I do. And they'll, maybe they can. But a lot of times they'll be, oh, no. I don't want to do that.
I just want to set it and forget it.
Yep, exactly. Hey, speaking of which, I want to thank Susan out there. Susan baked me some cookies because Susan's helping take care of John's roses.
Right.
And you mentioned set it and forget it. We hooked up some sprinklers for John's
Now, how is that
roses.
system working?
She's been going out there and she says things have been awesome.
Really?
She moved a few roses around to make sure that they get in the stream.
So it's been set to cover a certain area,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Now, even when John gets back, it sounds like he's going to have to do less work watering?
It's his choice, right?
Right.
Meaning one of those things, like, I think that the system that we have in place is not going to be good for a cool, possible heavy mildew situation. Because, we're watering the whole plant, the foliage and everything. But, in a sunny, warm environment, it'd be perfect.
Okay, it is break time once again for Biz Talk Radio. We have 2 more segments coming up. Plenty of time for your questions, your comments. Somebody asking if we're looking at Slovenia, Prague once again, late summer. I think we're talking about perhaps the month of July, so on and so forth. So perhaps along that timeline as well, Diane, we'll let you know again. But throw your hat into the ring. Where would you like to go? We're going to take a break for Biz Talk Radio here. It is Garden America. Happy weekend to you. All right, we have returned. Those on Biz Talk Radio, this is last week's show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting our show. And, of course, our regular Facebook Live crowd, always interacting with us. We do appreciate that. So again, it is again Garden America with Tiger and Brian on this weekend. John, as Tiger mentioned, John is smack dab in the middle of Germany. And did Tiger, you get a chance to post some of those pictures?
I did. I just posted some right now.
Okay. On our Facebook page, obviously, Garden America Radio Show. So let me make sure we're caught up with most of the questions. And I think we are, Tiger. We can't figure out where that noise is coming from. Nobody can hear it except us in the studio. Yeah, it sounds like a weekend party in one of the studios here at iHeart as we broadcast from the iHeart Media and Entertainment Studios every single weekend. In my studio, this is my office.
Yeah, this is where you
This is
come
where I
every
hang out.
day.
Every day I work
do
in here.
your work, and then you come here on Saturdays.
It all happens right here.
Do some more work.
So let's see. What's in store for you today?
I'm going to have lunch with my dad.
Okay,
Take
good.
him out for Father's Day lunch. I'm going to go play golf tomorrow. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, not gonna hang out with him tomorrow. So I said, hey, why don't we go out to lunch?
I didn't know
today?
you played golf. I used to play golf.
I wouldn't say I play golf. It's more of a thing that I do every once in a while.
Kind of go out there. You're a hacker.
Exactly. Got to keep the lawn mowed out there on
Yeah,
the golf
right?
course.
Exactly. Got to replace your divots.
But yeah. So going to go out to lunch today. Got some work around the house to do, and yeah, should be not a terrible weekend.
Well, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Couple more questions. How do you get rid of powdery mildew on roses?
Ooh,
Never had it before in Poway, but here we go.
Well, super high humidity now. I mean, mildew, mold, rust, all of those things like damp, warm environments, and that's been what we've been having here in San Diego. So it should be a big year for powdery mildew, rust, and mold. How do you get rid of it? Number one, make sure you're not watering the foliage. Try to water just the base of the plant,
Right.
the root system. And then number two, Natural Guard has some fungicide products, copper, and there is a Fertilome product called Triple Action, which we use a lot as well, which is also a disease control. But you apply these products to the foliage, it kills the mildew, mold, rust, all of that, and then prevents it from coming back. You got to use it about once a week for about 6 weeks, though. And
Right, be
really
consistent.
Be consistent. But
Do cannas work well as cut flowers?
yeah, cannas do work very well as cut flowers. Long-lasting cut flowers. You see them a lot in arrangements. Very much like a gladiola or, yeah, there's a lot of canna arrangements. Very tropical. And, okay, people say, do cannas work well as cut flowers? Yes, but canna foliage also works well.
Canna foliage?
Foliage, the actual leaves.
Right.
Because a lot of times the leaves are very cool. When we talked about color, there's reds, orange, yellows in the leaf, and they work really well in arrangements as well. You can use the foliage in the arrangement.
Rick has a question here. I think we may need to decipher this.
Okay.
What he's asking. What plant has the biggest range of all plants in the world? And I think he's asking
Like which one grows?
grows everywhere.
Everywhere?
Pretty much everywhere. Well, I don't know. That's shot in the dark. I mean, would roses be?
Well, I mean, here's what you got to think about, okay? I would say our plants have the biggest range. Mediterranean, what we would call Mediterranean
climate.
Why?
Right.
Because we are kind of down the middle, okay? If you go to
Right.
the tropics,
Right.
they can't grow in the cold, okay? If you go to the cold, those
can't
plants
grow in the
cannot
hot.
grow in the hot.
Right.
Okay, but because we're that Mediterranean, that very neutral environment, our plants can tolerate a lot of cold. Our plants can tolerate a lot of heat.
Right.
They can tolerate wet. They can tolerate dry. So if you think about a group of plants, Mediterranean plants, Australian native plants, Southern California plants are the ones that can grow in the most, I wouldn't say extreme, the most range of environments, because we go through the middle of the road on all of this stuff. I mean, just give you an example, a noble fir, a very common Christmas tree. It can't grow here in Southern California. It just won't work. It needs to grow in the mountains. It needs to be cold. It needs to be wet. If you go into the tropics, there's a lot of plants that can't grow
Sure.
here as well because they need that environment. where our plants can grow in the tropics and can grow where noble firs do grow. There's a lot of plants that can grow in both of those environments.
Kevin's funny. He says, weeds grow everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, I like to say that weeds are simply misunderstood plants.
Misunderstood, huh?
It's a weed. We call it a weed, but it's still a flower, isn't it? To some of them, right?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of weeds that are plants. I mean, we talk about oxalis.
Oxalis,
a
right,
clover,
exactly.
A clover.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of varieties that we sell at the nursery. It's an oxalis. It's a clover.
Right.
But we sell it because, like you say, it's a misunderstood plant. The one we sell is more contained, more controlled. There's something beautiful about it. We're not selling the oxalis that you find in your grass growing. You want to get rid of
yourself. Why go to the nursery to buy it?
But nonetheless, another one that's not or is misunderstood. Arundo, cattails, found in a lot of bog situations, very invasive plant. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would find those very pretty, pampas grass,
right?
Very pretty sometimes.
You could look at it this way: a weed is any plant that you don't want in your garden.
Yeah.
To me, that's just a weed.
Yeah.
And you've heard people say that. Are you kidding? It's dandelions. Considered what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Aside for when you're a kid, picking them and then blowing on them and having all the parachutes come off. The little dandelions or the yellow dandelions or, it's like, okay, what's the purpose of a dandelion?
Yeah.
That grows, sometimes just indiscriminately in your lawn.
What is the purpose, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's food for something somewhere.
Something, yeah. Just like we were talking about gophers a couple of weeks ago with John, and we were talking about what purpose does a gopher have? And I said, I guess to aerate your soil, right?
Yeah, they till the soil, work the soil, they manage plant populations because they kill plants.
Right.
So, to some degree they manage plant populations. So, it's
purpose for everything.
Everything has a job.
Right.
Everything has a job.
Are you busy at the nursery now as we head into summer?
Slowing down a little bit. Now. Yeah, slowing down. Warmer weather. People are kind of traveling. Kids are home. People are busy with sports and stuff. So it slows down.
But that every year you can plan. Yeah. We're going to have a good month here. This will be generally down, so you don't panic. You just know you expect it.
This is normal. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see, Rick. When I took a trip cross country, I saw weeds that seemed to grow everywhere. Yeah. They will. Yeah. I had a lot of weeds this year in my pots, unlike all other years because of the rain. I have to attribute it to the rain.
Really?
In all the pots, all these weeds were coming up, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, really? Now, they weren't too hard to pick out because it was still moist.
Yeah, and it's in potting soil normally, so it's pretty
But
had
that. Never had that before.
That just goes to show you, too, on how much you were managing your water, because weeds will only grow when there's an excess, and to some degree, an excess of water.
Right.
Because, if you were not watering it, if you were watering enough to keep the plant alive, but not letting the seeds of the weeds grow, then you were managing it just right. The plants were doing well. They were growing. They were leafing, green, and all that. But you just didn't let things germinate in the soil.
Right. And now with the warmer weather, got to water more.
Yeah.
Have to remember, we've had for the past 6 months, pretty much let it alone, let it do its thing. And
I've had my irrigation system off. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're going to turn the irrigation back on.
Yeah.
And with me, I just have to hand water. And John doesn't have to hand water anymore. He would talk about, I've got 1,500 roses. It takes me 3 hours. Now, with the system he's got, you'd think maybe not.
Maybe 1 or 2 days less he doesn't have to do.
Right.
He can kind of get out there once or twice a week.
And he can come back and see that for the most part, everything's okay. That hasn't always been true in his case.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm new to this, but this trip you're talking about in July, are you opening it up to your listeners?
Yeah.
Is that why you're asking for suggestions?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to know where most people would like to go.
Yeah, and here's what we do is we plan a trip to a place and we focus on the gardening aspect of
gardening
this trip.
aspect of these
so
places.
we're going to plan a trip, and we're going to plan it out where we're going to take you all to specific botanical gardens. Sometimes we take you to private gardens. Sometimes we take you to a specific event or show that has to do with gardening, landscaping. We don't just focus on that the whole time. I mean, we'll go to breweries, we'll go wine tasting.
There's other activities.
We talked about going to the horse that horse,
the Lipizine
Stallions place. Like,
put it this way, it's always a good time with us.
yeah, always
Ask
a good
anybody
time.
that's
You're gonna
gone with
learn a
us.
lot. You're gonna learn a lot.
It's a blast. We've got to take a break. We've got one more segment coming up here on this Saturday morning. Live, that is, here on Facebook. 1 week behind on Biz Talk Radio. I'm Brian Main along with Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages. And again, one more segment here with Garden America. Happy Father's Day weekend to you. We have returned. This is what we call the other side of the break. Thank you to those on Biz Talk Radio for supporting our many sponsors. And thank you for tuning into the show. Those on Facebook Live, we've got them stirred up now, Tiger. Start thinking about where you would like to go with us, Garden America. We talked about Europe. We talked about Japan. In the past, we've gone to Italy, Switzerland. Yeah. We've hit a lot of places. France. We did southern France several years ago. England with Tiger and John.
John went to Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba, right, several years ago.
Went to Cuba. So the tour would basically be something where we go with you. We have a tour guide that goes with us too.
It's pre-planned, but there is free time as well.
Correct. And so there will be things that we're doing throughout the day. We have buses that shuttle us around. It'll take us to different places. And so it's not like, oh, we're just going to go to France. We could be going, for 2 weeks, we can be going across Europe.
Yeah.
And hit different places all along the way.
Right.
And like you said, sometimes there's free days in between, and sometimes there's days where we're planned to attend a specific event or place for the whole day. But you're going to learn a lot. The cool thing about it and doing this is if you just plan your own trip to Amsterdam, you're going to Google what you should do. You're going to maybe schedule a couple things, and you're going to have some fun. But when you have a local guide who's from there or lives in the area, has done this a number of times, you're going to learn a little bit more.
And they'll take you to places that you maybe wouldn't have thought of. Never have thought of. I'll give you a good example. The last time we took a trip to Europe, I believe it was in France. We took a side trip to the asylum where Vincent van Gogh was.
Interesting.
And we saw his bedroom. We saw, now again, the very archaic ways of treating people back then for their various mental problems or mental state of mind. But then outside was a garden. Yeah. And it was like, whoa. And it was like, yeah, this garden's been kept up for a couple of 100 years. So there was the aspect of, wow, this is where Van Gogh was. They showed some of his paintings, some of his works, but there was a garden there. So sometimes you can weave the garden aspect into something where you really didn't think about that to begin with. It was fascinating.
And then, even to take it one more step, when we were in England, one day we had lunch in someone's home. Like
they opened up their home.
This person, the tour guide knew them. They had this beautiful, like old style cottage garden in this home that had to be, 300 or 400 years old. Just absolutely gorgeous in a neighborhood. But we pull up. There's lunch served right there. We're in someone's private residence. You would never be able to do that.
And wonderful gardens.
Exactly. And we got to talk with the homeowner, what she loves, what she's been successful with, what she trials. She had this area she had to enclose because of birds. Like, it was just really interesting.
Off the beaten track.
Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of going on a trip with us and some of those things. The local guides are really, really, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, as opposed to maybe planning the trip yourself, even through AAA or some other aspect of travel agencies, when you have these private tours, these guides like you mentioned, they know where to go. Hey, you know what? We're going to turn off here, spend an hour in this place. Not many people know about it, but it was a place that maybe as a kid I went to. And as your guide, I want to share it with you.
Yeah. And then, aside from the actual seeing stuff, you're with a group of 30, 40 people, and you have a common interest.
Like-minded people.
And so you're out there and you're kind of meeting new people. John was talking about there's a group of ladies that met on a tour, and they got together just this summer
and they
down
sent us
here
a
in
picture.
San Diego, and we're hanging out together, and they met each other all while they were out on a garden tour.
Yeah, you make friends, and for the most part, those friendships last.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. So let us know. And you can always email john@gardenamerica.com. That's john@gardenamerica.com with your suggestions, and obviously Facebook as well. Kim says she's in. I am
All right.
so in. We've sold her.
All right, Kim.
So way to go, Kim. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, we should have something by the end of by mid-July. We should have something by mid-July.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be good.
And you brought in some brochures from Colette Travel.
Yep.
You met with them.
Yep.
And there's
Got all the deets. The
there's
details.
a lot of ways to go about this.
Yeah.
So we did Colette Travel several years ago. Then we did Earthbound Expeditions. Both great agencies,
Yeah.
wonderful people to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we've got about 2 minutes to go, Tiger.
All right. Happy Father's Day to my
Yeah.
dad. And happy Father's Day out there to all the dads. Hopefully you get a day off and get to do what you want to do and
Right.
enjoy your 1 day a year that's celebrated you.
And my son would always take me to Red Lobster.
Oh, is that right?
That was our idea. Just indulge.
Oh.
Just the lobster, the butter, the prawns, the shrimp.
The all you can eat shrimp.
Pretty much.
I love it. I love it when they do the all you can eat shrimp because they bring you out like a little bit at a time.
Yep.
And then after a few, you actually get full because they keep giving you all the bread rolls.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? See, that's the danger.
Yeah.
Those bread rolls, and you're like, I'm not hungry.
I'm not hungry anymore.
Right?
I can't eat anymore.
But yeah, good on them. Let's see. So today you're working or not? Oh no, you said
No.
you're going. You and your dad are going out today,
Yeah,
right?
my dad and I were gonna go out to lunch. Got some just work around the house.
Now,
Tomorrow,
where's lunch? Where are you taking him?
I'm gonna take him to the. I'm planning to take him to the butcher shop right off the 163.
Absolutely, my
right
old
there.
hangout.
Oh yeah.
Love the butcher shop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dana and I used to go there for dinner. We haven't in quite some time. I want to get back there. That's my old haunt
Oh really?
when they were located in Mission Valley. My folks knew the owners,
Okay.
the DeFilippis, the same
Okay.
people that own DeFilippi's Pizza.
Yeah, and there's a Felipe's right next to the butcher shop. I think.
Yeah, it's a great place. Food is wonderful. You been there for last time you were there?
I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Okay, that's going to wrap things up. I think we've done it without John for a couple of weeks. So thank you, those on Facebook Live, those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for being right there, watching and listening. And again, if you want to watch the show, you missed some of the show, it should be uploaded. Daniel, our webmaster, has a internet problem, but for the most part, it should be uploaded by this afternoon. Go to our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. You can watch this show and all other previous shows. For the entire crew, I'm Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Have a great Father's Day weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next time right here on Garden America. Take care.